Good morning, world.
Good morning. Well, we have a special episode for you today. We are filming this on Tuesday, November 8th. So by the time you see this on Thursday, November 10th, we will have a lot of the election tabulations coming in.
We'll have all of it done except for Pennsylvania.
And maybe Arizona.
Yeah.
Wonder why that is. But we have an exciting topic today.
Yes, today we're going to talk about diversity, equity, and
we are not talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I, being the person of color on the Cedric and Brian show, is going to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion because you are a white man and you are not allowed to speak about it. Stay tuned. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. And this is Cedric and Brian. All right, before we talk about
diversity, equity, and inclusion,
where he talks about it, are you prepared?
Like Brian says, are you prepared? Do you have enough food, water, and other essentials to get you through tough times? If not, check out My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they've served millions of American families just like yours. Right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit, which will keep you well fed for 4 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks, totaling over 2,000 calories a day. This food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it will be there when you need it. In fact, you may need it a lot sooner than that.
So don't wait. Go to www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. That's www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com.
Out there, you see in higher learning and universities and colleges, they call it diversity, equity, and inclusion. I prefer to call it diversity, inclusion, and equity because, you know, when you have learning parameters and you have things that help you learn, use acronyms. I think the acronym diversity, inclusion, equity, which spells the word DIE, is way more appropriate than DEI. And if you think about it, anytime that philosophy is moved into the workplace or moved into a school or moved in any part of our society, that entity just starts to weaken and it starts to die. One thing that I want to say right off the bat is it's created a lot of new jobs for people in higher education.
And government.
And government, especially when in most government universities, it's the same thing. Now, if you guys think about it, diversity and inclusion, those might be possible in the workplace. It might be possible in the school. You can have a little diversity. You can have different
diversity
colors.
Diversity is a good thing.
Diversity is a great thing.
But it's been hijacked.
Yes, and I'll get into that in a second. Okay. Don't still. But equity is hard to do because when you set up a business entity or you like that, you have a mission statement, you have a goal. You can't measure it. There's no goal. There's no obtainable goal because what was the goal of BLM back in the day? There was no goal. It was like just keep creating havoc until things fall apart and then people can't do anything about it. But with diversity, you can say, and we've joked about this numerous times, you can go into the NBA and say, well, 13% of the NBA has to be comprised of black people. I think it's a little bit more than that, but let's take hockey. Let's say 13% of hockey of the NHL has to be comprised of black people.
When I bring this up, because I bring this up to people about the NBA, these corporations are supposed to show a diverse cross-section of the population in their, in their businesses, in their fields, in the government, blah, blah, blah. So I bring up basketball. I go, what happens if you do that? Oh, that's just sports. I go, but the underlying thing is you're going for quality. You want the quality of the product to be the best you can get it. And what happens? What do we always say? Cream rises to the top.
Yes.
So it happens to be in basketball that the cream of the crop in the United States are that the black males are the better players for the most part. I mean, there's great white players, but the biggest majority, the percentage of basketball is the majority black.
And let's be clear, those white players are from Europe.
Larry Bird, man. That's all I have to say.
You've been hanging on that for 30 years.
All right. So why can't we take that and extrapolate it throughout the industries and government? We just want the cream to rise to the top. I mean, I can understand back when affirmative action was started. Was it the 70s?
Affirmative action, 70s, yes.
70s. We wanted to help what they say, level the playing field.
Right.
Okay? But at this point, again, where are black people being held back?
If you're asking me as a black person, I don't see it. And you know what? And I struggle with that, talking to my friends out here and the Cedric and Brian show. Because sometimes I ask myself, like, am I really selling out sometimes? Am I just not seeing the forest for the trees? But as I look at opportunities that are presented to me, I've been presented the same opportunities growing up that Brian was presented. And a lot of my white friends were presented. I took a different path.
Let's do testing to get into college, because that's one of the big things that this DEI, or as Cedric said, DIE, is. As a conservative, we want a colorblind. You know, all you do is you just take the test scores, you do the interviews, and you take the best people. What they want to do is they want to make the diversity and equity part, they want to make sure that there's a certain percentage of people of each race.
Yeah.
Which is more racist? Picking by color, or just saying we're going to be colorblind and pick the best?
Picking by color, absolutely.
Yeah, and then we take it a step further, and this is the Harvard and North Carolina thing. Now you have Asians that, and I talk about this all the time, if you're a bigot, and I knew bigots, I don't say that there's no racism out there. My best friend in high school was Filipino, and I would see the stuff from some of these white people that would call him, Asian derogatory names. So they're getting the hate just as much, and we see this on the subways and stuff going on in New York. So why is it okay to discriminate against them at Harvard? Because they test high, they should be getting in, but they won't because they're Asian. They're still getting the hate on the streets.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
And you're doing not only a disservice to that individual, you're doing a disservice to the medical field as a whole. And we've talked about this numerous times. If a doctor and I'm going in to have a heart surgery, I want the best possible person, regardless of color and regardless of gender, to operate on me. It's not fair to put that person in that situation if they don't qualify.
We shouldn't dumb down. That's insulting.
It is.
It's insulting.
It is. Blacks over here in America, and I'm saying this as the black person on the show, there's a huge emphasis on sports, basketball, football, baseball, and we excel in those areas like we talked about earlier. You look at people from other countries that come over here, they excel because that is their sport. They treat it with the same passion and vigor that we treat athletics over here, and that's why they excel to such a larger degree over here than we do.
But it's worse than that, because now the American POCs, they're seeing this DEI stuff, and they're being told by the white liberal, we know you can't do it. We're gonna give you a leg up. You don't need to score that good. You can come in. That's insulting.
Right.
So then if they do make it up, then they have this psychological condition. Now it's like, did I make it because I was the best, or I scored good, or did I make it because I have a darker skin tone?
Right.
So it has a psychological effect down the line. And yes, again, back in the 70s, we wanted to, because of what happened in the Jim Crow era and a lot of the segregation of the past, we wanted to kind of boost that up. But now they've taken, and they do like what they always do, like with the transgender thing, they jump the shark.
Yeah.
And they take it too far. And now we're at a point where it's like, we had a black president of the United States. We have plenty of black senators. We have plenty of black governors. We have plenty of black people in prominent positions. That do we need to continue doing these affirmative action things, which basically all this DEI stuff is just basically affirmative action for the workplace now.
It's affirmative action 2.0.
Yeah, and the equity thing is such a silly term. We want equality, but we want equality of opportunity. So everybody needs to have that opportunity. So if the schools are failing, because here's where it comes back to, well, their test scores aren't as good because they're going to inferior schools. That's where school choice comes in. Let people take their tax dollars and go to better schools. Don't lock them in because the unions want to do this and force them to go to these horrible schools.
Right. And it's impossible to have equality of outcome like we were just talking about. And the only way you can have equality of outcome is if you manipulate
and you
the
lower
scores.
standards.
So then is it really an equal outcome? Let's have, like I said before, let's have equal opportunity. Give me the same chance to rise to these great heights, but also give me the chance to fall flat on my face, and that way I can look in the mirror and say, you know what, this was all on me. With diversity, we talk about this a lot. There's more diversity within groups of people than there is between groups of people. And by that, I mean, like, you take the black community. There's more diversity within the black community. And I got upset.
You're not supposed to, though.
You're not supposed to. But in 2020, people's like, and let's just touch this right now because we're right in the midst of the elections and the midterms. I have nothing in common with some of the people in 2020. I have nothing in common with George Floyd. But people will say, well, that's your people. I'm like, no, that doesn't make him my people. No more, and I'm not being cynical when I say this, no more than Jeffrey Dahmer is Brian's people. We should. Dark. I know that was that dark.
Somebody's watching.
It was on Netflix.
Yeah, I figured.
It was on Netflix. I watched it and stuff. It was interesting. But
at least you didn't call me Hitler.
But in light skinned, you know, I can call you Hitler, but you have nothing in common with those men. But
that's the insulting thing. You can do that with the black population. You call them your people, and you're supposed to think like your people. Mm-hmm. I have the advantage of they don't do that with white people. We're actually they accept us as a diverse group, which is a shame. You know, everybody should be diverse as an individual, and that's what we talk about all the time. But they don't. You pick the group, and you put people in those categories, and it's a shame. So what's the I? That inclusion?
That is inclusion.
What does that mean? Inclusion is
like everyone should be included. It's just like everyone should be like brought in. We should include everyone. And I understand that to a point, but it gets to a point where it can be overkill.
Well, it's funny because they don't include Ben Shapiro on college campuses. They don't want him there.
Right. He's a threat. And that's why
they don't want Larry Elder there.
Yep. That's why security gets beefed up for those guys. Yeah.
You know, I just named 3 minorities that the inclusivity people at universities don't want on their campus.
Yes. And if they fit the paradigm as far as how they look, it's okay. But once they start stepping out and start thinking differently, because, you know, Ben Shapiro, Larry Elder, Candace Owens, Leo Terrell, people like that, it's like, oh, you don't think like that, so now you're a threat. We can't have you around anymore. So we want to talk about diversity, inclusion, and equity, and it is just a huge lie. And like we said early on, it's just created a lot of numerous jobs in higher education and in the government, and it serves no purpose because, as I said in the beginning, I want to wrap it up with this. There is no end to it. You can't implement it. There's no way to measure it and say, are we achieving the desired result?
Yeah, no, it's a money grab. I worked in the insurance industry with my dad, who was in it, when HIPAA first was introduced around the AIDS epidemic back in the 80s. That was such a money grab. I mean, all you had to do is say, any paper that you take, intake, any history that you take in the medical field, that's personal, you can't share it. Done, end of story. Instead, they created these groups, just like the DEI groups that would go around. They would go to companies, they would go to government things, and they would have seminars to teach you how to keep people's personal information personal. It was ridiculous. Thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on that. Now this is doing the same thing. All you have to say is tell companies, don't discriminate. Okay, we won't discriminate. That's it. We saved a bunch of money. You don't have to hire a bunch of people that tell you that you can't call somebody a he if he dresses like a she, which is compelled speech, which is a whole other topic that Jordan Peterson talked about. Yeah. And that's the slippery slope that we are in right now. So now it's not only that, but now you have to let the boys into the girls' locker room. So usually these government programs that start off as some fringe thing, they've taken over, and we have to reel it in.
All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed that video. We just want to touch on that a little bit.
I think we need to do a comment, though.
Do you have one?
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead and talk.
Okay, but and again, talking as a black person, yeah, I want equal rights. But I don't want rights that supersede anybody else, and that's the one thing that I want to drive home with this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion thing. I want equal rights, but most people on the left, they want rights that supersede the rights that everybody else are given, so they can have a leg up.
All right, I got a good one.
Okay.
Is
this attacking me?
You'll see.
Oh boy.
So this was Tom McDonald. We just did his last video with Fighter.
Yes.
Great video. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. It was just released Tuesday, which is today. So Debbie Bennett.
Okay.
You know Debbie?
Don't know.
Seen her before?
Name sounds familiar.
Love the reaction! ! Cedric, I love your enthusiasm. You are the bum diggity! Exclamation point.
Debbie is right.
He's good. He does the diggity.
Giggity, bomb giggity.
But this says you're the bum diggity. Cedric did have a lot of energy that day during the video, and people noticed it, and I noticed it, and he says it's because I stopped drinking coffee, and all of a sudden he has more energy.
I stopped drinking coffee.
And he was on fire on that.
I was.
So
I'm
he kept stopping
better.
it, and then of course when I stop it, people give me a hard time. He stops. It's like, Cedric, you stop it anytime you want. That's the black privilege.
Because you were getting upset with me for stopping, and that's why.
I was joking with you.
No, they wanted.
I know.
It wasn't equality.
No, I know. I'm telling you, I don't get the privilege in this duo here. I can tell you that right now. But anyways, I want Debbie. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm a little disappointed I didn't get a mention in your comment, but I'm used to it, so don't worry about it.
All right, you guys. Hope you guys enjoy that. Make sure
you were gonna make a joke about my microphone going limp here on me today.
No, I've made that joke already. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Ring that bell, and please keep sharing our channel with everyone you know. We're coming up on the end of our 3rd year of doing this.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I thought we'd be a lot further ahead than we are now, but we're not complaining. We're doing good. I just thought we'd be a lot further ahead than we are.
Well, there was another comment that says, I can't believe you guys don't have more subscribers than you do.
Yeah.
But we know why.
And we're still getting the comments like, where have you guys been? I haven't seen you pop up on my feed in a while. Like,
I know.
Yeah. It's the
So Cedric said, Elon, bye.
YouTube gods. Okay. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, share our video with everyone you know. And you guys, just keep hoping for the best for our country, whatever that may be. Until next time, I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. See you later.